Hey, what's up guys? So, I gotta say, even though we got another chapter that was mostly about Gabby and Falco again, I thought this was actually a really good chapter. This chapter had a lot of surprising twists and turns and what the fuck moments, and there weren't even any Titans in it. But wow, some of the reactions from some of the characters after certain things were revealed were pretty crazy. But anyway, let's get to it. Before we go any further though, I want to make sure you guys know that these videos are going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't read the latest chapter, then what are you doing with your life? Seriously though, if you don't want spoilers, you might want to click on something else. If you're all caught up though, then let's get to it. So we begin this chapter with another debriefing. It seems like this is all the characters do anymore, is shit happens and then they debrief and they talk about it, and then something else happens and then they debrief about that. Niall has just become the monologuer of the story now. So anyway, he's telling everybody what's going on. He says that over 100 soldiers, including Flock Forrester, all concealed themselves along with the supervising officer in the prison. It appears that all of these soldiers commenced their defection at the same time as Eren Yeager's escape. It is certain that the assassination of the commander-in-chief was also their doing. To name them as bastards is a bit uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, huh? That's an interesting word. Instead, we should call them the Anti-Survey Corps Destruction Operations, known as the Yeager Faction.
Yeager Boom!
The Yeager Faction, huh? Why is that so funny to me? I don't know why, but that just sounds really funny to me. The Yeager Faction. Sounds like a secret club that Levi from A Slap on Titan would come up with.
Oh my god, kid, you are so fucked.
What does he,
All you need to know is that your last name is fucking awesome, and we are going to do so many shots together.
Hey, I guess for short we could call them the Yeager Bounds.
Yeager Boom!
So we asked Hanji what their perceived goal is, and she says that it is likely their objective is to reunite Eren and Zeke, and to purge those in the military who would oppose making Eren the leader. Killing the commander-in-chief was a display of their strong resolution. So this guy Rogue questions how they managed to gather so many allies in such a short time, and he asks if they're following Eren, does it mean that they trust Zeke as well? And Hanji says they believe Eren, who believes in Zeke. More than anything, we were too suspicious of Zeke to make any progress. However, if the Eldian people don't have a path forward without relying on the Yeager brothers' earthly rumbling, then the ones wasting time and endangering the lives of Eldians is the military, is what many soldiers have been thinking, unsurprisingly. And she says, but the final trigger was the recent event of the military deciding to have another soldier inherit Eren's founder. This was their response to that. And Niall's basically like, well, we knew it would happen if we told you. But in any case, the Yeager faction are Survey Corps members. And we get this shot of Mikasa's face, and she looks like she's just totally disassociated from the situation. Like, I imagine this has gotta be difficult for her right now, because Eren is off doing God knows what, and there's nothing that she can do. She can't protect him. In fact, she's in a position right now where she might have to protect people from Eren. So I wonder how she's processing all this right now. She seems to be okay, but it seems like she might just be numbing out at this point. So Rogue is like, how are you gonna take responsibility, Commander Hanji? Hanji says, I'll take the punishment, but other than me resigning from the military, I have no actions to take responsibility. Besides, we don't know how many members of the Yeager faction are still hiding in the military. Rogue says that's true. They may even be right in front of my eyes. It wouldn't be surprising to see you all explode right now. So obviously Hanji and the other Survey Corps members are all under suspicion right now as well, which is understandable. We see Kiyomi is there and she's just kind of listening to all this, and they kind of start squabbling, but then Pixis walks in and he's like, knock that off. We are in front of guests. So he gets right down to business. He asks Hanji, how many people know where Zeke is being held? Hanji tells him Levi, who is watching Zeke, and 30 other soldiers, and the 3 who are in charge of supplies and communication. And then it's just me. And Pixis tells them to bring in those 3 people. He asks Niall if the Queen's residence is safe. Niall says only a few people know where she is, but I'll check again now. Pixis deduces that Eren is probably looking for someone who knows where Zeke is being held. So he tells the guards to go round up all of those people, and to make sure that the queen is safe before Aaron's able to get to them, because if Aaron can't get to Zeke, he could also use Historia to trigger the coordinate and accomplish whatever it is he wants to accomplish. And Pixis turns to Armin, and he tells him, "As someone with the power of the Titans, you must fortify our defenses." Armin says, "I understand." Then Armin tells Pixis, with the loss of the commander-in-chief, the only one who can lead us and give us orders is you. And he asks him if he has a plan for what they should do next. Pixis is quiet for a moment, then he says yes. And he puts up his hands and he says, "Let's surrender to Aaron. This is already our defeat." And everyone looks at him like, what? He reasons that if they start trying to hunt down all of the people in the military who are on Aaron's side, it's just gonna be a waste of time and a lot of bloodshed. Things that they just can't afford right now. And he's right. If Marley is about to attack, then there's no freaking point in doing that. Because they might end up needing Aaron and Zeke to use the coordinate anyway, to protect them from Marley. So one of the soldiers is like, "No way! We're gonna lower our heads to the bastards who killed the commander-in-chief?" Pixis says, "I've known Zachary for a long time. A revolution rose him to power, and a revolution took him down. It's a fitting end he would have wanted. Most importantly, those fallen for would not have wanted their deaths to result in the collapse of Eldia." Niall says then, "Are you planning to submit to the Jaeger brothers?" Pixis says, "We will not submit. We will use the information about Zeke's location to negotiate with the Jaeger faction. If the Jaeger faction is planning to take on the world, they will know not to needlessly fight with us. We will continue to observe the implementation of the rumbling, and entrust it to the survival of Eldia. We will have to disregard the murder of the commander-in-chief. If this can prevent thousands of our comrades from killing each other, it's a small price to pay." So he lets that kind of sit with everybody for a moment, and then he says, "Now get moving!" They're like, "Yes, sir!" So Kiyomi approaches him, and he says, "I'm sorry you have to see us like this." And she says, "No, this is something every nation goes through." He says, "But as things are, we cannot assure your safety. Please stay in the harbor until the situation settles." She says, "I will do so. We will pray for Eldia's victory." So then Kiyomi stops Mikasa, and she tells her that if anything happens, please flee to our ship. Mikasa looks at her and says, "Thank you for your consideration, Miss Kiyomi. However, as an Eldian, regardless of my mother's heritage, I will bring danger to the Asmobitos if I am with you. I want to see the fate of the island I was born and raised in, so don't worry about me." Then Kiyomi starts doing that weird nervous laugh that she does. She's like, "What are you saying? You're the reason we came here at all." Mikasa says, "Not for the underground resource?" And Kiyomi is like sweating. Like she starts sweating like a lot. Mikasa says, "No matter who gains control of this nation, it doesn't matter to you as long as the rumbling is successful, right?" And Kiyomi almost looks like she's about to collapse. She's like hanging off Mikasa. She says, "Yes, if the rumbling doesn't live up to expectations, we Asmobitos are finished. Our nation of Hizudu will punish us for acting on our own. All of the investments until now will go to waste. That kind of debt will be the end of the Asmobito clan." Mikasa says then, "All the more reason I can't rely on you." And Kiyomi tells her, "The Asmobito clan has adapted to survive in these tumultuous times. It has become a greedy fox who only has eyes for money. However, we did not lose the pride of the clan that your mother left us. No matter what happens to this nation, we will protect you." So we get back to our group. Feels like we don't see you guys very much anymore. Jeez, you should come around more often. So they're kind of talking amongst themselves. Somebody says, "It can't be. To think we'll cooperate with Aaron, the one who killed the commander-in-chief." And someone else says, "We don't know if it was Aaron yet." And someone else says, "You're being too loud, Mikasa." And John says, "So now we're being suspected of being part of the Jaeger faction?" I bet John loves that, doesn't he? He's probably kind of jealous, like, there should be a John faction. So Connie asks Mikasa what she thinks. And Mikasa says, "Armin and I were almost caught up in that explosion. Do you need to know any more, Connie?" So I think Mikasa's reasoning is that Aaron couldn't have had anything to do with that explosion because it put her and Armin in danger. But then again, Aaron had no way of knowing that Mikasa and Armin were going to be in that room at that time. My question is, whoever did plant that bomb, did they know that Mikasa and Armin were going to be in that room around that time? And did the bomb go off a little bit too late? Maybe whoever planted that bomb wanted to get rid of Armin and Mikasa because they saw people who could potentially, as Armin had expressed he was hoping for, that him and Mikasa would be the two people who could actually influence Eren and change his mind. I can imagine Floch or Yelena or anyone else in this Jaeger faction could definitely feel threatened by Mikasa and Armin, that they might take away their precious leader and distract him from their goals. That's kind of scary because that means that Armin and Mikasa have a target on their head as well, and it's most likely from the very people who are following Eren. But then again, because we saw Pike in the end of the last chapter, it could have been Marley that set that bomb. If that's true, then Pike would have had to have her fingers within the Marleyan volunteers and influence the situation to get all this to happen at the same time. Like I said, Pike and Marley are probably behind all this. Either that, or they're just pushing along something that was already happening. Like I said, we don't know how long Pike has even been here, or who's with her. If they're doing the same kind of thing that Eren did when he went to Marley, Pike could have been here for several months before the counterattack was aiming to take place, preparing and making sure every little thing was in order first. So Hanji reminds them, as Commander Pixis said, we shouldn't fight amongst ourselves. And John asks her, so you don't think there's a problem with entrusting everything to Eren and Zeke? Hanji says, no, I don't think that's a good idea. She says Zeke and Yelena knew that even if everything went according to their plan, our suspicions about them would not completely disappear. They must have had an insurance plan that is taking effect right now. Plan B, of course. Of course there's a plan B. Zeke would not do anything without having a plan B. I think that is pretty obvious. I think we all know Zeke's too smart for that. And she says, that plan may involve more than just working with Floch. If we want to be thorough, we have to think there is something more to this plan. If we don't want to be played like fools, we have to expose Zeke's scheme. Of course, that's just my theory. A Titan theory! Armin asks, do you have any leads? So they start heading off to one of the places that Marleyans work, one of the work environments that Yelena protected, in particular a restaurant, which happens to be the very same restaurant that Niccolo works at. So we see Niccolo and some other guy, and he comes in and he says, Niccolo. And Niccolo says, yeah, it's time. So we see Sasha's family and the kids. Gabby and Falco are there, Kaya's there. Sasha's dad asks Mia why she's so tense. And of course it's because Kaya's gonna help them meet up with a Marleyan that's here, so that they can hopefully get back home. So the kids are kind of whispering to each other, and Niccolo greets them. He says, welcome, Mr. Browse. You brought a lot of guests. He smiles and he says, thanks for inviting us. I decided to come with my family. It's free too. Sorry about that. Niccolo says, it's okay. You can count on me today. So I'm sure this is going to be just a pleasant, peaceful, eventless little dinner party, and we're all just, everybody's gonna be happy and go home and sleep well tonight. You think? So Kaya tells Gabby and Falco that Mr. Niccolo is a Marleyan, and that they can trust him. Then Gabby asks, Mr. Browse isn't even a soldier. Why'd he get invited here? So I guess it's only soldiers who get to come to this restaurant. So Kaya tells them, didn't I tell you? Old Sis was Mr. Browse's daughter, and a soldier. Mr. Niccolo, who came to the funeral, said he would treat Mr. Brose to the food he was going to prepare for Old Sis. Then she kind of smiles and she says, I think those two were dating. Gabby is like totally shocked and appalled by this. She says, a Marleyan and an Eldian? That shouldn't happen! And Kaya's like, why? She says, things that shouldn't happen just shouldn't happen! Oh my god!
You racist bastard!
I'm like, so? I'm asking why. Kaya's really good at that. She's a very curious young lady. So they sit down at the table, and Floch's kind of thinking to himself, something feels wrong, but this is the first time I've had something so delicious!
Bloody delicious.
So Niccolo's cooking is like literally amazing. Like everybody, it shows everybody at the table eating and they're just like crying, like tears of joy because the food is like so good. Like Niccolo is like an amazing cook. I can see why Sasha would hook up with this guy. He's like, he must have been like her dream come true. Pretty sad that she's dead now, but... So Niccolo's like, the main course will be even better! I don't know if these guys can take much more. Like, you gotta calm down on the blams. There's just too much blam for them. So the other guy in the kitchen's like, Niccolo, you have guests. Niccolo's like, what? Who could it be at this time? He says, it's the Survey Corps. So he meets with them and he says, what are you guys doing at this time? I'm busy and I'm treating important guests right now. Hanji tells them that he can go back to work. but they want to talk to him after he's done. And Niccolo asks, talk? About what? And Hanji starts saying, I'm worried there could be something, and she trails off, and Anyakapone says, volunteers are under arrest. Please cooperate with our request. Niccolo says, okay, understood. But first please wait here. So he lets them into this empty room. So Jean goes over to the wine cabinet. He's looking at the wine, it's expensive stuff, reserved only for the higher-ups. And he's like, hey, we should get to drink some of this. We're pretty awesome. I mean, we're kinda responsible for taking back Wall Maria, so I think we deserve it. But Niccolo doesn't seem to want that. He snatches it away from him, and he says, don't touch things so carelessly. And they're like, what the hell, Niccolo? Why you gotta be such a dick? Niccolo's like, we can't waste it on you Eldians. Sounds like, what? It's like, Niccolo, you still say those things? What does it matter where someone's from when we're talking about alcohol? It seems like Niccolo's just being a douche. He's like, don't touch me, you Eldian. Don't act friendly. Jean's like, then what are you? Your position is... Niccolo's like, are you talking about the prisoners of war? There's no difference with this, Eldian. So he leaves them just kind of pissed off at him. Connie's like, why is he being such a dick? And John's like, I don't know why he's being such a dick. But Niccolo looks pretty distressed. He's walking away with that bottle of wine. And Gabby and Falco see him walk by down the hallway. Falco suddenly starts complaining of a stomachache. He says he has to go to the bathroom. And Gabby follows, saying she's gonna help him. They follow Niccolo down to the wine cellar. And something's definitely going on with Niccolo. He looks like he's having a panic attack for some reason. He notices them and he says, this isn't the bathroom, you know. They come up to him, and Gabby says, we're from Marley. We're honorary Marleyan warrior cadets. Niccolo's like, what? Falco starts telling him, very soon there will be a great invasion of this island by the armies of the world. And Gabby says, until then, please endure, and please transmit this to fellow Marleyans. So the gears are turning, things are starting to click in Niccolo's head, and he says, wait a minute, how are you warrior cadets here? Gabby says, a month ago the Liberio district of Marley was ambushed by the island devils. I don't know if you'd believe us, but we got onto the airship of the withdrawing enemy and landed on this island. And it looks like it dawns on him who these kids actually are. He says, have you killed someone? A female soldier? Now Falco, he seems to realize what's happening right away. Falco's not stupid. Gabby, on the other hand, is completely fucking oblivious. She says, yes! I finished her off! Falco's like, Gabby, she keeps going, but I've only killed a few. Our revenge for the violation of our hometown begins now! We will never lose to cowardly devils! Falco says, hey, Gabby!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
She's like, what? And Niccolo's like, you're the ones who killed her. And finally, Gabby realizes what's going on. She says, what? Then Niccolo freaks the fuck out all of a sudden. He says, you're the ones who killed Sasha! And he takes the freaking bottle and he swings it at these kids. Damn, Niccolo. You got some anger issues, man. Shouldn't go beating up little kids. That's just rude. I mean, I know they killed your girlfriend and all, but still. Jeez. So he swings it at them and he hits Falco in the head, breaking the bottle over his freaking skull and knocking him out. I'm sure he was aiming for Gabby, but Falco took the blow for her. Gabby's like, ah, Falco! And Niccolo goes, oops. He kind of nervously laughing to himself. He's going, damn it. And then he punches Gabby in the face. And the next thing you know, he's throwing these two kids out into the dining room where everybody else is. Everyone's like, what the hell's going on?
Listen! Fuck up! Get out!
He's got Falco under one arm and a knife in the other. And Sasha's father is like, Mr. Niccolo? What are you doing to Ben and Mia? And Niccolo, he just straight up tells him, he's like, she's the one who killed Sasha. She's the one who took the life of your daughter. She may still be a child, but she's a well-trained Marleyan soldier. Please be careful. She is skilled at killing people. She shot Sasha in the airship that the Survey Corps used to retreat. And Gabby, she looks like she's kind of dizzy. She's pretty out of it. He must have hit her pretty freaking hard. And she's like, daughter?
Dumbass.
She looks up at Sasha's parents, and that realization starts to sink in. Niccolo turns to Sasha's dad, and he reaches the knife out to him, and he says, Mr. Bros, here. If you don't kill her, I'll be the one to kill her. So then Armin happens to peek in the door. He must have heard the commotion. Mikasa's like, what's going on? He says, it's serious. Everyone hurry. So they come in and see freaking Gabby with a bloody nose and Falco all messed up and Niccolo's got a knife, and it's like, what the hell's going on here? And Jean recognizes Gabby. He says, the kid who shot Sasha? How did this happen, Niccolo? I heard these two had escaped. What are you trying to do? He sees that Niccolo looks pretty unstable, and he reaches out and he says, hey! And Niccolo's like, stop! Step back! Don't move from there! I'm only repaying Sasha's enemy. He was like, stop! It's not Falco! Niccolo says, what is this bastard to you? He became like this covering for you. Is he someone precious to you? He says, there was also someone valuable to me. Yes, she was Eldian, the descendant of the devil. But she ate my cooking better than anyone else. She saved me from this good-for-nothing war. She taught me that I am truly someone who cooks to make people happy. That is Sasha Braus. That's the name of the girl who you stole from me. And Gabby looks at him, and she starts getting all pissed off. She's like, wow. Had people I treasured die as well. They died at the hands of that Sasha Braus. That's why I took revenge. It was them that killed first. And Niccolo goes, are you in a position to know who was first? Gabby says, open your eyes. Aren't you a Marley soldier? You're clearly seduced by the devil. Don't lose to the devils. Devils, devils, devils! Ah, devils everywhere! Ah!
But what is evil anyway? Is there reason to the rhyme? Without evil there can be no good, so it must be good to be evil sometime.
And Sasha's dad looks over at Niccolo and he says, Mr. Niccolo, could you give me the knife? Niccolo and Gabby look at him and he's like, here. Niccolo hands it over. And then he stands there looking down at Gabby. Hanji says, that's enough. Mr. Braus, please hand me the knife. And Sasha's dad starts talking and he says, Sasha was a hunter. She lived while killing beasts of the forest with the bow she learned to shoot since she was young. That was how we lived. But because I knew we couldn't continue to live with that method, I sent her outside the forest. Also, Sasha, who went out into the world and became a soldier, went to attack a different land, shot other people, and was shot and killed herself. Ultimately, it was I who let her go out of the forest. But the world itself is a giant forest. I think that Sasha's death was because she was roaming about in the forest. So you should send the kids out of the forest. If you don't, the same thing will just repeat itself. The shouldering of the crimes and hatred of the past is the responsibility of us adults. So he hands the knife to his wife, who puts it on the table, and she says, Mr. Niccolo, let go of Ben. So, Sasha's father and mother ended up being the most forgiving and understanding out of anybody in this situation, it seems like. After Gabby and Falco were exposed, it was Niccolo who freaked out the most, which was kind of surprising. I mean, to just freaking go nuts like that all of a sudden on these two kids. Niccolo is he's obviously having a really rough time dealing with Sasha's death. And he obviously must have cared about her a lot to have this reaction to coming face to face with the person who killed her. I mean, it was definitely more than just the fact that he appreciated that she liked his cooking. Like, it sounds like Kaya might be right. I think that maybe him and Sasha were actually dating. But Sasha's father, who is probably the wisest and most mature-minded character out of anybody in this whole series, manages to de-escalate the situation, so nobody else gets hurt. So Jean and Connie grab Niccolo. Sasha's parents go over to Falco, and Mikasa checks on Gabby. Sasha's father looks over and asks Gabby if she's okay. And Gabby's mind is just totally racked right now. She is experiencing probably massive amounts of cognitive dissonance at the moment. I mean, this is gotta be pretty tough for her right now. She doesn't even know what to think right now. I mean, she came here to find a Marleyan, to find somebody she could trust to get back home, and it turns out that that particular Marleyan just happened to be the one Marleyan who was involved with the Eldian that she happened to kill. And so the one person that she thought that she could trust tried to kill her, and then instead of any Marleyans coming to her aid or to her rescue, it was other Eldians who helped her not die in this situation. And she can't believe it. She looks over at him and she says, "Do you really not hate me?" But then in that moment, holy shit, there is a child with a knife behind you, Gabby. And it's a good thing Mikasa's right there, because she grabs Gabby by the head and then grabs the wrist of the person who's trying to attack her, and it's Kaya. Dang, Kaya sure changed her tune, didn't she? She's freaking out just about as much as Niccolo. So then after finding out that Gabby, person who she's been helping out all this time, was the person who killed Sasha, someone who she considered a big sister. And of course she finds out that Gabby's been keeping this from her as well. So she's screaming and crying, she's saying, "How could you? To old sis!" Sasha's dad's trying to restrain her. He's like, "Kaya!" She says, "Murderer! I thought you were my friend!" So Armin says, "Come to the next room." So they leave and the family's having a little moment to cry over Sasha. And Gabby looks back and sees them all, and I think it's safe to say that maybe for the first time she's actually feeling bad about killing Sasha. Maybe she's finally starting to realize the truth of this whole situation, and that is that the Eldians of Paradis are just people, just like the Eldians of Marley. They're really no different. So Niccolo seems like he might be losing his mind a little bit. He says, "The main course will be cold by now. I don't think anybody cares anymore, Niccolo. I don't think anybody's hungry anymore." Then he tells Hanji, "Miss Hanji, please wash out that kid's mouth with water. Some wine got into it." She looks at him, she's like, "What?" And then he says, "Even though I think it's already too late." She looks at him and she says, "What was in that wine?" And Niccolo says, "Probably Zeke's spinal fluid." So it sounds like the prediction that some of you guys had has turned out to be true. That wine was indeed spiked with something, but it wasn't poison, it was Zeke's spinal fluid. And who all drank that wine? Who was supposed to drink that wine? Was that the only bottle, or was there other ones? Now, I have so many questions about this. Did the Browse family just drink it? I don't think Niccolo would.
It's already over.
You can tell them over till it's over.
What's that from, the 80s?
That's probably in the 70s.
Hey, what's up guys? So, let's talk about Attack on Titan Chapter 112. And yes, I'm still alive. Hello. Sorry it's been so long. There's a number of reasons for that, but I'm going to discuss that later on in the video. For now, I want to get right into this chapter. And one thing I will say is this video is going to be a bit different from my usual review because I've been having some difficulty with my wrists lately. I had to go to the doctor for it, and I had to stay off the computer for a while, which really sucked. But anyway, that's one of the reasons I haven't been around. So this video is going to be kind of like a podcast style video. I'm going to try to do this recording in one take. I'm going to do minimal editing, but I still want to try to get these reviews out as much as I can, even if they're really late. So bear with me guys. Hopefully this is still an entertaining video. Thankfully, my previous video for chapter 111 had a lot of nice little edits. Maybe I went a little overboard. Because, anyway, let's get to this chapter. So, in this chapter, I guess before I go any further though, I should let you know that these videos are going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't read the latest chapter, then what are you doing with your life? Seriously though, if you don't want spoilers, you might want to click on something else. If you're all caught up though, then let's get to it. So this chapter left us with, I think, one of the craziest cliffhangers that has happened in Attack on Titan thus far, and that's saying a lot because Attack on Titan loves its cliffhangers. But holy crap. I mean, Levi everybody's favorite character, okay, not everybody's, but most people's favorite character, looks like he might die soon. Like next chapter soon. And, yeah, when I first read this, I was like, oh my god, like, I had that same kind of, like, I've got that same kind of scared feeling that I had for Armin when he was standing on Aaron's Titan's shoulder, you know, telling Aaron about his plan, like, except Levi, he's just getting Titans dropped on him. Oh god. And they just, oh god. As you see them transforming, they just look terrifying too. They've got the light coming out of their eyes and their mouths. Wow, that's really creepy. But man, I've been saying for a while that Levi might die, and if he does, then it's gonna be because of Zeke. Zeke's gonna kill him or cause his death somehow. And it looks like Zeke wants to be a little bitch and run off and let all these transformed Titans that were once soldiers kill Levi. What a little bitch. But anyway, I like Zeke. I don't want you guys to get the impression that I don't like Zeke, but he is the antagonist to the characters that I like more than him. So I don't know. He's about to try to he's trying to kill Levi. So that pisses me off a little bit. Screw you, Zeke. But I'm still really interested in what he's gonna do. So let's move on a little bit. Let's move on to Eren. But before I do, tell me in the comments what you guys think is gonna happen to Levi. Do you think he's gonna die this time? Do you think Levi, like humanity's greatest soldier, is finally gonna bite the dust right now? I highly doubt that. I think Levi, he's gonna find a way to bust up all those Titans, and then he's gonna go after Zeke, and then him and Eren, they're all, like, him and Eren and Zeke and whoever, they're all gonna get together, and there's gonna be some kind of big confrontation or something. And it's gonna be kind of like the same scene during Return of Shing and Sheena when Levi was all bloody, you know, and Eren was there with Bertolt and Zeke was riding Pike and they're and like then, just like now, Zeke ran off like a little bitch. So my conclusion is Zeke is a little bitch. So anyway, moving on. Eren in this chapter. Wow. This is the moment that me and a lot of other people have been waiting for, to see these three get together. And it went totally different from how I imagined it would. Although now that I've read it, I feel like I kind of should have expected this to happen. Eren has been kind of going down this direction, and I don't think that I should have expected talking to Armin and Mikasa would change that, because, I mean, there's definitely something driving Eren. Something very strong driving Eren to do this. So, but it's funny that Gabby's there though for no reason. Like, why does she have to be there? Maybe Isayama has a reason for her to see this. But anyway, during this conversation that they have with Eren, a lot of interesting things happen. And so let's just go ahead and start from the beginning. I'm gonna go ahead and read through this because this is a pretty loaded scene. So they leave Eren, Armin, and Mikasa and Gabby in a room together. And Armin asks him, was that Flock's voice? You came here with Flock? And Eren says, yeah. And it's got a close-up of his hand, which is bleeding. Of course, meaning that he's ready to turn into a Titan at any second if he needs to. Just like he did with Reiner back in Marley. So Aaron says, and Aaron, he looks almost like he's in a bit of a trance. So, quite frankly, just the way Aaron looks in this scene is enough to make me believe that he might be being controlled by Zeke somehow, in some way. But then again, his expressions might just be him kind of withdrawing and detaching, just showing how distant he is from Armin and Mikasa right now. So he says, I wanted to talk to you guys in a quiet setting. We can settle Eldia's problems without any conflict. Hanji and the others will be fine. We're just moving them. Then Armin says, we're the ones who wanted to talk to you. We just wanted to know what you were thinking, Aaron. What made you decide on your own to attack Marley? If Zeke and Yelena have really gotten you on their side. And there's a pause, and Aaron says, I am free. Armin and Mikasa are like, huh? He says, whatever I do, whatever I choose, I do it out of my own free will. And Armin says, you met with Yelena in secret the night of the rail opening, right? Has this all been your free will since then? Aaron says that's right. Mikasa says no. You're being controlled. You're not the kind of person who'd involve innocent civilians and children, even if they live in an enemy state. You've cared for and thought about us more than anyone. Haven't you? You've saved me from being kidnapped and wrapped this scarf around me. Out of your kindness, right? And I see Mikasa's getting kind of emotional. But Aaron isn't reciprocating at all. He just says, I said keep your hands on the table. She looks a little surprised and sad, and she puts her hands down. Aaron says, I hid myself in Liberio and spoke with Zeke, brother to brother. I learned a lot then. Zeke knows more than Marley does. Gabby's just sitting there like shell-shocked. She's just like, she probably wants to get up and run, but she got nowhere to go. So Aaron's like, Armin, you're still going by and seeing Annie, aren't you? Is that of your own free will, or is it Bertolt's? And Armin's like, what? What do you... And then Aaron continues, if memories play a major role in forming who a person is, that means part of you has become Bertolt. A part of an enemy soldier that feels love for another enemy soldier is influencing a significant part of your judgment. You, an advisor to Eldia, holder of the 9 Titans. You weren't soft like this before. You never backed the enemy. Your judgment was always able to lead us to the answer. But every time you open your mouth now, it's, let's talk. You're absolutely useless. Wow. Rude, Aaron. Rude. It's like the worst thing you could say to Armin, specifically. That word. So, Armin looks pretty shocked as well. Aaron continues and he says, Armin, Bertolt's gotten to your brain. You're the one being controlled by the enemy. So this is interesting because let's pause for a second. Let's pause for a second here because what this does suggest, along with what we're going to see in a second with Mikasa, is that people to some extent can be controlled by other people using the Titan power. Now Aaron claims that he's not being controlled, but that's exactly the kind of thing somebody would say if they were trying to convince somebody that they weren't being controlled. Or that somebody would say to somebody who was trying to convince them that they weren't controlling the person that they're talking to. Or whatever. You know what I mean. So, I don't know. It's hard to say with Aaron right now. But let's continue. So Mikasa says, Eren, what are you trying to do? And Eren says, I'm just saying, there's nothing further removed from freedom than ignorance. I learned about the Ackermans there too. The reason you're strong, Mikasa. It turns out that Marleyan scholars still barely know a thing about the Titans. But what came about by accident from the Eldian Empire's fiddling around with the subjects of Ymir during its long history was the Ackerman clan, who maintain a human form but in some cases can manifest the power of the Titans. Still, the Ackerman clan was designed in order to protect Eldia's king. As a result, the instincts in their blood will still activate once they recognize someone as a host. Mikasa says, huh? Eren continues, in other words, you only cling to me because of your instincts as an Ackerman. Mikasa looks pretty surprised. He says, you obeyed my order in that moment when you were facing death. Fight. Apparently, when all of those conditions are met, the instincts hidden inside the Ackerman's clan's blood will awaken. Not only did this heighten your physical abilities to an extreme, you were even given the experience in battle accumulated by every past Ackerman by way of a path. All because you happened, by chance, to trick yourself into believing I was the host you had to protect. Wow, so let's pause again right there. So, what we just found out is that it's something that's been hinted at in the past. We kind of know that the Ackermans do tend to take on a kind of follower role. They're not leaders, as Isayama has stated before. So we've kind of gotten clues as to this. And of course, earlier on when they first discussed the Titan science and the Ackermans kind of came of it, it's kind of suggested this. So, but now we're getting kind of the whole story, at least as far as Eren knows. And it is pretty much what I guess is that the Ackermans were created from experimentation with Titans. They were created specifically to protect the Eldian king. And so because of basically their genes or whatever, they're pretty much triggered at some point into protecting someone, whoever they identify as being a host, as Eren puts it. And obviously Mikasa has attached herself to Eren. And we know that Levi, in some sense, kind of attached himself to Erwin as well. And maybe also to Eren a little bit after Erwin's death. But obviously it really brings into question all of Mikasa's feelings about Eren. I mean, I'm sure some of it's legitimate, but then she also has this Ackerman thing. And so it kind of suggests that Mikasa's choices and her actions up until this point hasn't been fully her own either. So she doesn't want to believe it, obviously. She says, you're wrong. Eren says, am I? How? Mikasa says, it wasn't by chance. It's because it was you. I was able to become strong because of you, Eren. It was all because of you. Eren says, apparently once an Ackerman awakens, they often find themselves suffering from sudden headaches. They say this happens out of the true self trying to resist being forced to protect its host. Sound familiar? She remembers a flash of Eren stabbing this dude in the chest. She says no. She's very much in denial right now. Eren says, what I'm saying is that the real Mikasa, disappeared in that mountain hut at 9 years old, leaving only you behind, ever faithful to your Ackerman instincts. Kasa's like shaking. She's like, no, Aaron continues, a clan who lost their true selves, created only to follow orders. In other words, slaves. Wow, Aaron. So, yeah, like I said, this is a pretty loaded conversation. Aaron is not holding back at all. He is just dishing out the nasty. So, the truth hurts. Bad. So, Mikasa is like, so like I said before, we don't know who the real Mikasa is, do we? She, as Aaron put it, the real Mikasa disappeared that day when she was 9 years old, and then since then she's basically been this kind of just soldier robot, I guess. Then she's just been she's just existed to protect Aaron, and that's pretty sad. Like, I mean, obviously the real Mikasa is still in there, and it's fighting against her Ackerman instincts, and that's why she gets those weird headaches. So that's an interesting kind of metaphor, I think, for, you know, people in general, you know, sometimes have different sides of ourselves that may not always agree with each other, you know what I mean? There's a lot of deep shit we could get onto with this, but let's keep going. So Armin says, "Stop it, Aaron." Aaron says, "Do you know what I hate most in this world? Anyone who isn't free. That or cattle." Armin says, "Aaron." Aaron continues, "Just looking at them made me so angry. Now I finally understand why. I couldn't stand to look at an undoubting slave who only ever followed orders. Ever since I was a kid. Mikasa. I've always hated you." Ouch! Jeez! Burn! God! That hurts, Aaron. That hurts me. Okay? I am hurting for Mikasa right now. That is so mean. You're so mean, Aaron. Why you gotta be so freaking mean? So Armin gets really mad. Mikasa's like crying and shit. And Armin gets all pissed off. He like jumps over the table. He's like, "Aaron, how dare you?" And then Mikasa grabs Armin, slams him on the table, and it's like she didn't even realize that she was doing it. She didn't want to, she didn't mean to, but right there, Aaron's like, "See? All you've ever done is live according to what your Ackerman blood has told you to do." She steps back and she puts her hands up and she's like, "No." She's just really shocked that she acted really against her own free will in that moment, and she's just, that's kind of like it's like a reality bomb just dropped. And Aaron's like, "That's all you are." Mikasa, she just starts crying. Armin, he's still pissed. He jumps up. He punches Aaron in the face. Doesn't seem to do much. They both fall on the ground. A couple soldiers come in. They're like, "Mr. Yeager." And Aaron's like, "It's fine." So, Armin, he says as he approaches him, "We've never fought before, huh?" Armin's like, "Damn," and he tries to throw another punch. He misses, but Aaron punches him instead, and he says, "You know why that is?" Punches him again. "God, Aaron, stop beating up Armin." Rude. So rude. He says, it's because there's no way you could even put up a fight against me. And Armin ends up on the ground, he's all bloody. Mikasa's like, just stop. Eren looks just kind of annoyed. And he says, like I said at the start, if you'll tell me where Zeke is, there's no need for us to fight. So just come with us. Take them away, he says to the soldiers. And they say, sir. The brat who killed Sasha, too, Eren says. And? What is it you even wanted to say? Is that the freedom you wanted? The freedom to hurt Mikasa? Tell me. Who's the real slave to a piece of shit? And Eren's blank expression finally cracks. He says, who are you calling a slave? And he looks all pissed off. It's like, let's go. And Armin's like, where? And Eren says, where it all started. Shiganshina district. Okay, so... wow, what's going on here? Eren, like, why you gotta be so nasty and mean? Anyway, there's a lot of theories going around right now, and people seem to be kind of torn on what it is that Eren is actually doing. Is he being controlled, or is he doing this out of his own free will? What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments what your thoughts are on this. So here's what I'm thinking. There are obviously two possibilities. One that he's being controlled and one that he is not being controlled and he's doing this on purpose. I think that if he is being controlled, it makes sense that for him to say what he said to them. Obviously, it makes sense for him to be really mean. I could imagine Zeke getting some kind of sick kick out of doing this to Armin and Mikasa, but I also think that it's equally possible that he is doing this of his own choice. And some people were saying that they think the reason he might do this is to kind of set Armin and Mikasa free, in a sense. Because ever since the beginning, they've both been attached to Eren. They've always followed Eren. Anytime Eren disappeared or went off on his own, they went to save him. And so, in a sense, they are kind of slaves to Eren's fate. And I think that's kind of one of the points Eren was trying to make, is that he didn't like the fact that they allowed their lives to be dictated by his choices. And in a way, he's actually doing them a favor by helping them to detach from him. I think that Eren, maybe there's a part of him, I mean, obviously he has a lot of conviction, whatever he's trying to do. He's not gonna let anything get in his way, but I don't think he wants really to bring Armin and Mikasa down with him, because he knows that the path that he has to go on is a rather dark path, and he doesn't want to see Armin and Mikasa have to sacrifice their humanity as well, because that's what he's going to have to do in order to achieve his goals, is sacrifice his humanity. As Armin had said before, that you can only, something along the lines of, you can only defeat monsters if you're willing to become a monster. The only way to protect humanity is to discard your humanity, sort of thing. So, and that's something that Eren, as Armin has also said, is fully capable of doing. And like I said, I think that Eren is perfectly fine with sacrificing his own humanity, but he doesn't want to see Armin and Mikasa sacrifice theirs just because they're following him, you know what I mean? And so if he does this, if he breaks these two cardinal rules of their friendship, then it's over, really. I think that our trio, in some sense, is over. And because he told Mikasa that he hated her, when we all know that Mikasa kind of loves Eren, maybe not in a romantic sense, maybe she does, but definitely as a friend and somebody that she grew up with, kind of a brother maybe, I don't know. I mean, technically she is his adopted sister, so they're kind of family in that sense as well. And by saying that he hated her, he was completely destroying that connection that they thought they had. And also by attacking Armin, was also going against everything that their friendship was built upon, almost, which was kind of, Eren was always Armin's kind of protector, her and Mikasa, they always helped him out and protected him from the school bullies and stuff like that, and watched out for him, and saved him as well during the Return to Shiganshina arc, during the Serum Bowl. It was their words helped convince Levi to save Armin's life. And so by doing these things, by doing the two things that Eren, you know, should never ever do to Armin and Mikasa, he's essentially broken that bond enough, perhaps, to not let their fates get wrapped up in his own. And so that's the only reason I could imagine Eren doing this of his own free will, because I don't think Eren really means it, or maybe he does. Eren's obviously a very complicated person now. It's fun to speculate on what's going on in his head. But anyway, what's gonna happen in the next chapter though? They're going to Shiganshina District. And why? Why does Eren want to go to Shiganshina District? And is Zeke headed there as well? I'm guessing that Zeke's booking it there too. They've probably planned on meeting there. And I apologize for that fucking bird in the background. So noisy. But Eren wants to go back to where it all started for some reason. I guess we're just gonna have to see why. Maybe they're gonna try to test out the rumbling. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, they've got to do it sooner or later. I guess we'll just have to see. So, what else does this chapter have to offer? Well, in this chapter, well actually, in the last chapter, we found out that a large supply of the Marleyan wine that they brought over with them, I guess, which is what they've been drinking, has been contaminated with Zeke's spinal fluid. And apparently they did this on purpose. I'm guessing, I don't know, did they know that they were going to get captured? And did they foresee that the people on Paradise Island would take all their wine and drink it? Who knows what their real plan was. Niccolo doesn't seem to know all the details either. But one thing we do know is that a lot of people have drank this wine. And Connie points out that in Renko Village, just breathing the gas made people lose control of their body and start convulsing and stuff. And I pointed this out before too. Like, that would have been a telltale sign, as Hanji puts it, of being dosed with Zeke's spinal fluid. She points out, though, that that information came from Zeke, and if it was a lie, then that would be enough not to tip anybody off that something was up with the wine. Nobody would know any different. And Niccolo says any Marleyan soldier knows how Zeke's spinal fluid has been used in war before. And as they're talking, he kind of comes back to his senses. And he's like, what's wrong with me? I nearly killed a child. In the other room, Gabby's sitting there with Armin and Mikasa. And she can't believe that they don't want to kill her. But Armin's like, no, we don't want to kill you. And he says, that's all you ever talk about. Kill, kill, kill. You remind me of someone. And then Eren pops in. Hello, Eren. So Hanji's got Falco in a tub. And then all these soldiers come in. It's Flock. And the other Jaegerists. And they want them to tell them where Zeke is. They have a bit of a standoff. Turns out that the guy Nicola was working with in the kitchen led them to them. And he tells Niccolo that he's gotten too close with the Eldians. Hanji tries to reason with Flock. Flock seems to be getting kind of cocky and in his leadership role. He doesn't seem convinced by Hanji or Jean that Zeke might not be playing in their best interests. But he won't listen. And Flock also knows about the wine. So, yeah, this was a big, giant plan, apparently, from the get-go. Oh, the plot thickens. So, speaking of the wine, let's move on from that scene and let's go back. Let's revisit this scene with Levi again. And we see Levi. He's getting word about Zachary's death and the things that the Jaegerists, or the Jaeger faction, are up to. They're pretty much in control of Eldia right now. And it's total chaos. And Levi's just like, well, shit. And Levi starts thinking back to all the times he protected Eren, all the times, all the sacrifices that were made for him. He's thinking about Petra and his old squad. And as others have pointed out, this panel here is kind of reminiscent of that panel with Erwin right before he died. So, there might be a big fat death flag over Levi's head right now. Let's hope he doesn't die. Although, you never know. You never know. Levi might just bite the dust pretty soon. And I'm gonna be very, very sad. But anyway, he puts his hand on his head, and it makes me wonder, because obviously earlier we were talking about Mikasa and her headaches and what they mean. So, it makes me wonder if Levi is having a little bit of a headache right now. Is he obviously this is a scene where he's experiencing some inner conflict about his feelings about Eren, and he says to himself, it's almost like one big awful joke. It is like a big awful joke, isn't it, Levi? Life is like a big awful joke. And he's just like annoyed and pissed off that everything has turned out so stupid. Like I said before, it is possible that Eren has also become Levi's Ackerman host as well, in some way. So Levi makes a decision on his own that it's time to sacrifice Zeke, get somebody to eat him, and then feed that person to Historia. The two soldiers are kind of objecting, but he's like, you know what, we're out of time, and I'm done letting Zeke dictate everything, because obviously things are getting out of hand now. And Levi says, I don't know if Eren's being controlled by Zeke or not, but we just need to end Zeke and they're done for. Just tell Pixis that. And the soldier's like, really, Captain? Levi's like, I just need to rip his limbs off. The old man will be ready then, right? So he approaches Zeke, and Zeke asks, is there any wine left? Levi says, we've been here a month. There's not a drop left. And he starts to walk away. And he's thinking to himself, it doesn't matter what Pixis thinks. He's gonna kill Zeke one way or another. thinks to himself that there are 30 fully armed trees surrounding the forest. Even if he turns into the Beast Titan, he couldn't escape them. Then he starts thinking about Erwin, and he thinks to himself, I think I'm finally going to fulfill the vow I made to you that day. Your death had meaning. At last I'll be able to prove it. So he turns around, and then Zeke is booking it! He's getting the fuck out of Dodge. And then he screams, and this is where that whole wine conversation comes into play. 30 soldiers that are stationed up in those trees just turned into titans above Levi's head. This is crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen. How is Levi gonna get out of this? Zeke found a way to get around all of their precautions, all of their preparations. Zeke, wow, this was so, like, I did not see this coming. I mean, not until we obviously started getting some suspicious commentary about the wine. This is something else. This is crazy. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next chapter. I really hope Levi doesn't die. If he does, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be funny if he almost dies and comes back, like Armin did. Because they're both my favorite characters. They would have weirdly similar near-death experiences. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if they killed Levi off. I mean, we're almost to the end of the story, probably. And, with Levi gone, they'll just be an even more desperate situation. I don't know. I don't know how our guys are gonna get out of this. Like, I don't foresee a happy ending in this story. Oh boy. Alright guys. Thanks for watching my chapter 112 discussion and 113 predictions. Tell me what you thought of this chapter. Tell me what you think is going to happen in the next chapter. Do you think Levi's going to die? Do you think Eren is being controlled? Or did he do what he did for a reason of his own will? Tell me your theories. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. I hope you had a good one. Sorry I wasn't around very much. There were a number of reasons for that. One of which, as I mentioned before, I've been having some issues with my wrists, and that makes it pretty hard to edit and do things on the computer. I think it's getting better. I've been trying to spend less time on the computer, do some exercises and stretches, and be healthier in general. I just gotta be careful and try to minimize, you know, my use of my right hand for a while. So that's why this review is kind of, why it's not quite the same as my previous ones. But anyway, another thing was the copyright issues that have been going on with manga and anime channels lately. As you may have already know, I got a copyright strike for doing some spoilers, which is a no-no. I should have known better. You also may have noticed that Soul Madness and Mangastorian are gone now. Their channels were taken down. I don't know if they've gone back up yet. I don't think so. Last time I checked, they were still down. But that really sucks. And I got kind of freaked out a little bit. And I was kind of afraid to post anything because I really don't want that to happen to my channel. And I wasn't really sure what exactly was going on. Obviously, it seems like there's some companies overseas who are kind of making things difficult for us manga and anime reviewers lately. But you know, I'm just gonna try to play it safe, and that means not doing spoilers, not doing reviews before the chapter is officially released. And hopefully if I stick to that, then I'll be okay. But still got that strike on my account, It's like they last for like 90 days. So another thing, if I'm being totally honest with you guys, is I've just been getting a little bit burnt out on doing Attack on Titan videos all the time. It's just gotten a little bit repetitive after a while. I feel like I've kind of ran out of things to talk about, and like I really want to start working on other projects, which is kind of what I've been doing in the background over the past couple months as well. So there's gonna be some big changes coming to Dark Logic Studios in 2019. Now that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop doing Attack on Titan content. I'm still into Attack on Titan. I still love this manga and the show, and I'm still gonna be doing reviews. I'm still gonna be doing videos about it. It's just not gonna be the only thing that's gonna be on this channel anymore. I'm gonna try to do at least one Attack on Titan video a month, do the chapter reviews, maybe 2. Maybe I'll do one at the beginning of the month, the chapter review, and one at the end of the month, more like a predictions and discussions video, but we'll see. I'm just gonna try to find something that's sustainable, that I can be consistent with, because I haven't been very consistent in the past, and that's, I think, has kind of hurt my channel a little bit. So I'm gonna try to just take baby steps this time and not overwork myself like crazy. Trying to get a high quality 20-minute plus video out every week is crazy. It's madness. But anyway, but yeah, I want to start doing other projects on this channel, which is kind of the original intent of this channel. It's kind of a variety of stuff, because I do a variety of stuff, like, you know, my Watch Me draws that I've had before. I want to do more of those, and I've also been dabbling in music a bit more, so you might see some more music tracks from me in the future. One thing that especially I want to start working on is my own graphic novel. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I just never really went for it. But it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I've got this story in my head, and yeah, I want to start making it happen. And ECM has really inspired me in a lot of ways to just kind of go for it now, and I just want to do it because it's just time. It's time. Okay, and I'll talk more about that in another video if you guys are interested. It's got some similar themes as Attack on Titan, but it's more of a kind of a cyberpunk setting, kind of futuristic. There are no Titans in it, but there are other interesting things and creatures and stuff. So if you're into like science fiction, fantasy type, kind of end of the world type stuff, it's just kind of what Attack on Titan is as well. It's kind of in the same genre, almost, not quite. I've definitely drawn some inspiration from Attack on Titan, but it's really more inspired by things like Final Fantasy VII and, you know, the old Gargoyle show. Like, because I started writing this story when I was like years and years ago, when I was like a teenager. And I was heavily inspired by those two specific things. But yeah, I'll talk about that more later. And anyway, so now you know what's going on, and I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks again so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Visit me on Facebook and Twitter, and check out my Patreon if you want to help support this channel. And I will see you next time. Peace.